Hi guys, and welcome to today's Pick a Card reading. Now, we're doing things a little bit differently today. Of course, generally I get messages from Spirit and I go with that. Today what I've decided to do, I have pulled 3 cards from my Crystal Reading Oracle deck by Rochelle Sharman. And so we're using those 3 main themes, and the messages today are coming off those 3 main themes. Now, I have asked for those themes from Spirit. However, the messages that are going to be coming through for you guys are coming from myself. So these are based on my opinions and my experiences that I have gone through in my life thus far. So if this doesn't sound like a reading that interests you, then I would suggest either checking out some of my other readings or perhaps waiting for the next one. But if you would like to stick around and see if this resonates, I would really appreciate you having a listen and seeing what messages come through. Like I said, there are 3 piles to choose from today, and I do have 3 tarot cards that I have picked for each pile. That gives me a bit more of insight to perhaps your side of the topic, what you might be going through and how it relates to you. So like I said, if you feel like this is something you're interested in, stick around and pick your pile. Otherwise, I will see you guys on the next one. And here are the piles. Hey, part 1. So what we're talking about today, your main message is a message of self-love. So, like I said, this is not so much messages from Spirit today. I have had the assistance in picking out the main energy that we're talking about. However, a lot of what we're talking about today is going to come from me, myself, and my life experiences. And this is really what my channel is all about, me being able to offer you guys some guidance, some wisdom, and, you know, obviously when I do tarot most of the time, you know, it is spirit messages. However, you know, today this is coming from me based on my life experiences, so it does come from my own opinions, thoughts, feelings. So take this, you know, if it resonates. If it doesn't, leave it where it lies. If this doesn't interest you, this kind of reading, aka my opinion, right? And, you know, based off, you know, sort of what I know, what I've experienced so far in my life, then perhaps this reading is not for you. And I would suggest to please check out any of my other readings if they so interest you, or you know, at least keep an eye out on my channel for upcoming readings, where I will more than likely be going back to doing the spirit stuff. But this is just for now. I have done previous pick a cards, like I mentioned in the introduction, that are similar to this one based on my experiences, and, you know, talking about the meanings of the tarot cards. So if you're interested in today's reading, if you did like this, check out those as well, because I get into in depth about, you know, those kinds of topics as well, again based on my experiences. So we're talking about self-love with you guys. So self-love, you know, this can involve a lot of different things. You know, belief in yourself, knowing that you are good enough, you know, being able to give yourself compassion when and where needed, you know, obviously love, being able to show yourself love, because a lot of the times, you know, we look to these kinds of things from outer sources, but we often don't give ourselves this kind of treatment, and this kind of compassion towards ourselves. And this is self-acceptance as well, and understanding of who we are, and being able to love ourselves for who we are, our authentic self, and being proud of the person that we have become. So there's a whole heap of different things we could talk about here with self-love, but I do have 3 cards here as well that sort of clarifies for what we're talking about today. I wanted to get some more issues to what you guys might actually be dealing with here in regards to this self-love. So we do have, and I feel like these cards go in succession too, so we have the Devil energy, moving on to the Ace of Swords, and then to the 9 of Pentacles. So it's interesting because, so we've got this Devil energy, right? And the Devil energy, for those who know tarot, talks about toxic environments, toxic people, toxic ways in general, right? Something that is not serving us right now. And the devil clearly, obviously, does depict 2 people who are chained up by this devil. But of course, what I always say with this card is, the chains are quite loose, so they're able to free themselves. They may not realize this, but they are actually able to free themselves if they wanted to. These people could just take the chains off, right, and be free of this devil energy. So for some of you, you may be in a toxic situation right now. For some of you, this is past tense, so this could be recent past. This may even be a few years ago now, but maybe it's issues that are still affecting you today, things that you're still dealing with, energies, right? Or the way that you're seeing yourself. Because I do kind of see the devil a little bit too sometimes as what we're inflicting on ourselves. So almost like that little devil on the shoulder, right? So this could be coming from yourself as well. This could be, seeing yourself, entrapping yourself in perhaps the way you see yourself, your belief system of self, and all those kinds of things. So this may be the energy that you're in right now. So there's a need for you guys to really come to terms with this self-love energy, and being able to show yourself compassion, show yourself love, knowing that you are good enough in general, but to achieve the things that you want to achieve, that you are good enough as you are, right? Because a lot of the times too, we feel like we need to change for others or for certain situations, or we feel like sometimes too, we think we're under the illusion that we need to be like somebody else. We see someone else, and we see perhaps maybe, for example, right, you may see someone that you think is handling life better than you are right now, or they're in a better position, or they're higher up, or they're more they're on a higher level or something, right? Or they've got things that you want that you don't have right now, and so you think like, if I change and become more like this person, or if I do this or I do that, then I'll have what they have, or I can be that way. But really it's all about acceptance of self and being happy with you as you are. And a lot of times it's a lack of love, it's a lack of self-understanding and acceptance that stops us from enjoying life to the fullest and being the best that we can be. And so that is more the problem, rather than thinking that we need to change ourselves in order to gain what we don't have, or what we want, or to be like somebody else, which we don't need to be, right? It's all about being happy as we are, and that is the inside and the outside as well, because of course, being here in the physical realm, right, we have physical attributes as well as all our internal stuff. So with the Ace of Swords here as well, you know, what I like about it is we have this new energy, right? Because aces are about new energy. So I see that, you know, this is an opportunity for you guys to have this sort of like epiphany moment, and you may get this through this reading today. This may be this Ace of Swords moment for you right now. But this is about, you know, again, I think a better understanding of yourself, sort of like I said, that like epiphany moment of that aha moment, right? Where it's like, oh, I get it now. I understand myself more now, or at least I understand the need to show myself love, to give myself compassion, to be more understanding with myself. Because, you know, none of us are perfect, okay? We're not perfect. But then neither is the world that we live in. And for some of us, you know, we do put high expectations on ourselves. We do even create these boundaries within ourselves, or we put these limitations on ourselves, and we stop ourselves from being able to, again, become this better version, this best version of ourselves, and to really experience our lives to the fullest, and to what, you know, we came here to experience, which is, you know, well, anything you desire, really. But it's this Ace of Swords energy that's coming in, you know, to show you guys where you need to be more accepting of yourself, and loving and kind and caring towards yourself. Now, the swords, they are based around the mind, right? So this is the thought process. So again, like I said, some of you may be in this energy right now where you are feeling like it's more your thought process that's stopping you from this self-love. So again, like I said, with this Devil energy, maybe if you're turning this to yourself, right? If this is coming from you, this is perhaps, you know, talking bad about yourself, right? Telling yourself you're not good enough, telling yourself you can't do it, telling yourself you're not a good enough person, or, you know, you don't like who you are, you're not accepting of self. There's some kind of perhaps mental entrapment here, of belief of how you see yourself, how you think about yourself. But like I said, this is a new beginning, right? This is new beginnings, this is new energy, so this is going to change, this is changing. Or at least there's the want to change, right? So if this isn't happening for you right now, or it's not, you know, because of course this isn't going to be overnight, right? But this process of self-love is not an overnight thing. And it's an ongoing thing. It never really ends. You know, we're constantly learning new things about ourselves. We're constantly testing ourselves, pushing boundaries with ourselves, you know, testing our strengths, you know, seeing our weaknesses, seeing, like, because of course there's light and dark, so there's our shadow sides to deal with, as well as there is, you know, our light sides. It's all of these things mixed in, which is also why it's very important to have that love and care for ourselves, right, moving forward. But what's needed here, and what's probably for some of you already, you're aware that this is what you want to achieve right here, is getting to this Nine of Pentacles energy. And the Nine of Pentacles is all about, you know, someone who is very strong in themselves. They're independent. They know who they are. They stand tall. They're empowered. And, you know, yes, of course, coins can talk about, pentacles can talk about the material world as well. And, you know, like being secure in finances and, you know, having, I don't know, other material wealth, right? So like a house or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Or a lucrative job, all those kinds of things, you know, maybe the dream job or something like that. But being really like financially independent and things like that, yes. But of course, with this self-love here, what we're talking about, this is just you feeling good in yourself and standing tall and feeling strong and, like I said, empowered. Knowing who you are, again, that awareness, that understanding of self. The more we understand ourselves, the more we are aware of who we are, how we tick, the way that we work, you know, the yeses, the nos, what we like, what we don't like, all those things, that everything that makes up us. If I'm kind of picturing in my head a clock, you know, an analog clock with all the cogs. And it's kind of like, you know, if you've ever taken the back off a clock, it's actually, you know, with all the cogs, it's quite interesting to look at. And there's a lot of different size cogs and little bits and pieces that make up this clock, just to make the hands turn, right? To make the time go. But it's very interesting if you do have a look at those, to see how complex it actually is and how much there really is there internally that makes this tick, that makes this work. And, you know, it's the same thing with us, you know, and it's not, like I said, it's not an overnight process to go through, to sit there and really delve deep down into yourself to find more out about who you are. And really that is, you know, a key thing here. It's about delving into yourself to really find out more about yourself in order to know how to give yourself the kind of love, care, compassion that you need to thrive, right? And to be the best that you can be in this life. And we do spend way too much time paying attention to what others think of us, what the outside world is saying about us. And, you know, that offers up, again, maybe this devil energy or this devil on the shoulder, or, you know, it's a delusion to what's really there. And, you know, we also have things like expectations that are put on us. You know, you're expected to be this way, be that way. I was only talking yesterday to somebody who was mentioning about how we already know automatically how to act in different situations, right? We know if we are at home, we can be more relaxed and we can, you know, talk about anything, sort of be a certain way, just sort of casually do whatever, right? But then if we are put into certain social situations, there's different ways of acting, and we know this, and we comply, and we do this, and I need to speak this way in this instance, or I need to dress up this way for this particular thing, or I need to, you know, and there's all these sort of, you know, ticking the box kind of things that we know we need to adhere to, right, in order to fit in or to be accepted in these certain different situations, right? So a lot of that can come from outer sources, but we don't, and so we take those and we sort of start to mold something that we think is ourselves, but it's just illusion, and it's not real. We need to really, and I think the only way sometimes too that you can have more of an understanding of self is just 100% doing it yourself, being with yourself, and learning to sort of eventually not be affected so much by those outer influences and what people think of you and what people say about you. But if you've already gone through that process of sort of understanding yourself more and really taking that time to go, okay, I think this is me, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is my personality traits, this is who I am, this is how I think, this is how I act, you know, all those kinds of things. The more you learn about yourself, taking that time with yourself, that sort of protects you. It almost gives you this shield of protection against what other people think in the future, because you're going to just instantly listen to those people, or you're going to be put into those, circumstances, and you're going to say, okay, I can draw the line here, or I can put the barrier up and say this is not going to affect me, or you can say those things about me, but I'm not going to pay attention, or I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, because I know who I am. I'm already self-assured, I'm self-aware, I understand myself, and I am good enough. I can do this. I give myself love on a daily basis. I give myself compassion. So I think for you guys, pile 1, this is, like I said, it's not going to be an easy thing. If you feel that obviously if you guys have picked this pile, I'm going to assume that you are in need of self-love, that you don't give it to yourself very often, or you're unsure perhaps of how to do that. So hopefully this has given you guys some insight here. It's not going to be an overnight process, like I said, but the best thing that I can say to you guys is to take time with yourself. Even if you are saying to yourself, it's a really hard thing to do, to take time to myself. And I'm not saying you have to go to complete hermit mode, right? Shut the blinds, shut the world out completely. But it is a solo process in order to get to this point of understanding and loving yourself as you are. It is a solo mission. And it's not going to come from outer sources. It shouldn't come from outer sources. It shouldn't require anybody else's input or involvement. It has to come from you, because that's the only way that you are going to be able to do this. Yeah, I mean, it's and it's not always an easy thing either. It's not an easy process in the sense of sometimes you will, get faced with things that you don't like about yourself. Delving deep, delving inside yourself, figuring out who you are is not an easy process, because you will find out things that you don't like about yourself. You will discover things that you may even want to shy away from, or you may even want to push it out completely and say, that's not me, I'm not like that, I don't do that. But again, nobody's perfect, right? You are not perfect. I'm not perfect. This world is not perfect. So you're going to come across these things. This is the shadow side of yourself. There's the light and the dark. The yin, the yang, right? Again, though, in these moments, when you are facing the dark side of stuff, right, the deep stuff, you're delving deep here, into your fears, into your insecurities, into all of that stuff, right? Because everybody has them, they're there, they exist. We go through this process of learning to overcome these things over time, right? But again, in order to do those things as well, this requires a little bit of self-love. This requires a bit of compassion, of understanding of yourself, and that it's okay to have fears, it's okay to have insecurities, it's okay to go through these processes. This is how we learn, this is how we evolve, this is how we become the better versions of ourselves. But if you're feeling right now, pile 1, like your whole understanding of self is coming from the outside world, you need to take some time to look inwards to yourself and really figure out who you are and what makes you tick, what makes you work. Think about those cogs I talked about inside the clock, because that's inside you as well. And it's a lot of stuff to go through. It's a lot of stuff to look at. But it's worth it in the end, once you start peeling down those layers, once you start finding more out about yourself. And in a way, you could say there's no greater feeling than, being secure in yourself and saying, yes, this is who I am. I know who I am. I understand now. I see myself for who I am. And I'm proud of this person. I love this person. If you're not saying that to yourself, guys, I want you to say that to yourself. Tell yourself all the time that you love yourself. I love me. Don't take it in an egotistic way. Don't take it in a, I'm so wonderful, look at me, right? Look at me. Not talking about that, right? Because that's a whole other thing. Don't go there. But in an honest way, in a humble way, look at yourself. Tell yourself you are good enough. Tell yourself that I love me. I love who I am. I'm proud of who I am. Don't apologize for who you are. That's something that I am still learning myself. I'll be honest about that, guys. I am still learning that. Do not apologize for who you are. But again, like I said to you, this is not something that you're going to learn overnight. This is going to continue throughout your entire life. The whole time that you're here on this earth, this will continue. But the main thing for you guys, the main point to get to is feeling strong in yourself. Get to that point to where that you're not relying on other people so much anymore for love, for compassion, for understanding, for any of those mental or emotional kind of support systems and things like that. Don't to where you're not needing that all the time anymore. It's okay, it's fair enough to go to other people and say, I need some advice, or I would like a little bit of moral support, things like that. That's a different thing. But if you're solely relying on other people in the outside world to justify yourself, to tell yourself things about you that they don't know, they're looking from the outside. This is a completely different perspective. They're looking from the outside. Only you know you, or you will know you, right? Once you choose to take this path of self-understanding and really look inside and see what's there. Don't be afraid of who you are. There are some things that you're going to come across that, like I said, you may come across you don't like about yourself. You may wish to change those things in the sense of, improving. I don't think necessarily that, we need to change ourselves completely. I don't agree with that. I think, we should love ourselves for who we are. But of course, if you feel like there's something that's not working for you, it's not benefiting you, for instance, a bad habit or something like that could be an example, then by all means, work on changing those things. But unless you're going to take that time with yourself to look deep inside and figure out that these things are there, to lay it all out on the table and say, good or bad, this is who I am, right? This is the bits and pieces that make up me. Again, like the clock, think about pulling a clock apart and all the bits and pieces that you're there and left with, right? These are all the parts that make up you, the unique you, the important you, the self-assured, self-loving, proud of who I am, you, right? Take this time with yourself to understand you, and remember that you are important in this world, that you are capable of anything that you set your mind to, that you are good enough, okay? Show yourself this self-love. Like I said to you guys, this is something that I am still learning myself, and we will all continue to learn this. I don't feel like this is something that comes to a close, this comes to an end. I think this is something that just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. I was only talking to someone the other day about how sometimes I feel like I don't fit in this world, right? But I feel like that is just more me. Now I've stepped back a little bit and I've taken a look at my feelings there in that sense. I think that's more me trying to figure myself out more, trying to pull apart that clock a bit more and say, okay, what am I really feeling here? What does this really mean when I say that? Where's this coming from, right? Is this out of sources? Is this me? Is this how I'm feeling, really? What's going on here? And I'm pulling apart pieces and pieces, bit by bit, all so that I can understand myself better, so that I can be better for myself, so that I can be the best version of myself. So I really hope this is helpful for you guys. I hope that you did get something from this. Please let me know down in the comments if you did enjoy this, and like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. I appreciate you all. Lots of love, and I will talk to you on the next reading. Bye. Okay, hi pile 2. So your main theme for today is letting go with Kyanite Blue. And I do have 3 cards here, tarot cards, kind of acting as clarifiers. So as you will know from listening to the introduction, today is a little bit different. So I have taken a main message that you guys may be needing to hear today or are dealing with right now, but the actual messages aren't coming directly from Spirit. They are coming from me and my life experiences. So yes, this is more my opinion and what I've been through, that hopefully will help you in moving forward, because at the end of the day, this is what I'm trying to achieve here on this channel, is to give you guys some wisdom, guidance, and a path forward. So with this letting go, it can be one of the hardest things to do, and I know I've had a lot of issues with learning to let go of things. I've been through a lot of challenges with this, and it's hard to let go of things when you are unaware of either what you're still hanging on to, because sometimes we're not aware of what we're gripping to. There's things that we're clinging to, there's things that we have in our life that aren't necessary, that aren't helping us right now, but we're still holding on to them for whatever reason. Sometimes it's out of fear of letting go. Sometimes it's, again, that lack of awareness that this isn't serving us right now. And then other times we are quite aware that we need to let go of something, but we understand the difficulty in doing so, and this can be fear-based, or this can be sometimes procrastination. Sometimes it can be just that unknown of what happens if I do let go. But it is a hard thing to do, but once you do let go, it's the only thing that can help you move forward, right? It's like, I'm thinking about that 10 of Wands energy. You see this guy, he's got 10 wands on his back. He's struggling. He's bent down. He's, trying to walk, trying to move forward, but it's really hard with all those wands on his back. And now you imagine someone lightening this load and taking a wand, away from him each time he takes another step forward, how much lighter he feels. And him, obviously doing this himself, letting go of those wands, how much lighter he feels, or she, moving forward, right? And sometimes we cling to things through comfort too. We get stuck in situations where we realize that it's not serving us, or something's not serving us, but we stay because it's what we know. And so there's a level of comfort there. And that level of comfort keeps us stuck in this energy that we don't need to be in, that isn't serving us, right? But we're there because we know what it is. There's a safeness to it, even though there could be something much better around the corner. Change is on the horizon, but it's like we're not wanting to see this. We're not wanting to move forward because we're comfortable, or because, again, it's what we know. And there is a fear of the unknown. We do have a fear of the unknown most times, because that's exactly that, unknown. But we would never have gotten anywhere in life. We never would have evolved. We never would have changed. We never would have gotten to where we are if people in the world didn't face those fears and take leaps of faith, right? Into the unknown. Now, the 3 cards we have here, we have the 5 of Cups, we have the 5 of Swords, and we also have the Judgment card. So with this 5 of Cups, this talks about grief, loss, mourning, disappointment. I have done a video on the 5 of Cups. So if you're really in this 5 of Cups energy right now, please check out that video, because I do have a lot to say about that card and moving through those energies. But with this 5 of Cups, the thing to remember about this card, it doesn't show it here on this one, but with the traditional Rider-Waite, there is a man who obviously is mourning his 3 spilled cups, for those of you that know the tarot, and behind him there are 2 cups still standing. But he's not paying attention to those cups. He's not seeing the good things that he still has, or the things that he should be turning his attention to. Instead, his attention is on what was lost, what's not working for him right now. It's like when people, they have that saying, don't cry over spilled milk. Why are you crying over spilled milk, right? It's just milk. But we do these things, and they don't always serve us, but we do them, and it's hard. It's sometimes hard to let go. It's a bit of a silly analogy, but it's making me think of just like the simple act of the spilled milk, right? For instance, there was an instance where I was working, once I used to work at a hotel running conferences and events, and but I'd just finished my shift and I was coming off of work with my friend, and across the road they had a bottle shop, as they call it here in Australia, where they sell alcohol, right? And so we went over to get, we thought, well, we've worked really hard today, we're going to have a drink, right? We're going to celebrate, we're just going to, have some fun. So we went over and we bought a bottle of sparkling, right? Champagne. It wasn't champagne, it was sparkling. But just as we were walking over the road, my hand slipped and the bottle fell straight onto the ground and busted. And I remember just feeling so distraught. I'd worked so hard all day. This was my little bit of reward for the hard work that I put in, and I'd obviously just paid for this bottle of sparkling, and now it's in pieces on the concrete floor. And I remember just feeling devastated that I just lost. At the end of the day, it was a bottle of sparkling. Let it go, But I had worked hard, and my mind was just, but this was my, So sometimes we can hang on to things that we don't need to hang on to, you know what I'm saying? But we do it. It happens. But really, the lesson we're learning here is what we need to pay more attention to is the feeling that we get when we let go, and what happens to us once we let go. Because the more we tune into those energies, the more we understand that this is the outcome of letting go of things that do not serve us, the more we're inclined to head in that direction next time, right? And a lot quicker too than we did the last time. And that's definitely something that I've been learning in my life. The quicker you can see something's not working, the quicker you can see this is not benefiting, this is not useful, and you release and let go, the better off you are. The quicker you can recover, the quicker you can turn around to something better, to move on to something new, right? And it's not always easy. I get it's not always a situation of a spilled glass of milk or even a bottle of sparkling for that matter, right? I get that. It can be more than that. Now, I lost my parents a few years ago, and that's been a very difficult thing for me to have to go through. They both passed away from terminal illness. So using that as a quick example there, that's obviously something that's a hell of a lot more than a spilled glass of milk, right? And that's not been an easy thing for me to try and let go of. And it's been complex because there was, so many different feelings. There was the mourning, there was the guilt that I felt not doing enough for them, and not being able to keep them here, of course. It was their time, that's fine. I, have made peace with a lot of those things now, but there was a lot that had to be worked through, and it was not as simple as just letting go. So I understand that, even though I use these milk analogies and things, it's not that simple always. But just the understanding of what will come from letting go, I think, is the important thing here, because once you start realizing that, it does make the process easier the next time around. And even if it is something that is not going to be an overnight fix, it's not going to be an overnight situation of just letting go and it's gone, at least you know where you're headed and what's going to come of this from you releasing the fears and taking those actions to let go of what's not serving, right? Or what's not needed in your life anymore. And this can be anything from the situations that you've been in, people that you've dealt with, belief patterns, thought patterns, all that sort of stuff, right? It can be anything that you're needing to let go of that is no longer serving you. And it's that thing too, how can I put this? Think about it like a room, okay? So if you are accumulating all these things in a room, right? You can think about it like your house or your bedroom or whatever this is, right? Your own personal space, and you're accumulating all these things, and you're going, I'm going to keep this, and I'm going to keep that, and that, and that, and that, and it builds up, and it builds up, and it builds up over time, right? And you're thinking to yourself, I don't have room for anything else in here. I'm running out of room. The only way that you're going to make room for something new to come in, for you to put something else in that room, right, in your space, is to take out something that you don't need anymore, to let go. And the quicker you can get into this process of releasing things, the moment you don't need them anymore, the easier it is, the more space you have. And then all you're really doing is replacing things with something else, you know what I mean? You've got your core things, your key things, and then if one's gone, you replace that, you know what I'm saying? Instead of adding to the mix and building up and building up and building up. And it is all to do sometimes too, again, like about perception and how you view things, because like I said, you may not be aware right now that there's something that you need to let go of. Or you may not be aware, even if you are, of how much you need to let go of some things. How many things there actually are. You may be aware of one or two. There may be more than that you're not seeing right now or not allowing yourself to see. So it is really important to understand that the process of letting go is to make things better and easier for yourself. to give yourself peace of mind, to give yourself that freedom of space so you can move around, do things, get on with your life. All these worries, these burdens, these thought patterns, these, even if it's just material stuff too, like literally some of you may have needed to hear that. Maybe you keep a lot of things, physical things, objects, that you just don't need to hang on to anymore, and you're hanging on to them and they're just taking up space in your life. Let go. Let go. And as I said, again, easier said than done, and it may not be an overnight thing. But if you take those first steps into understanding that, okay, this isn't serving me, I don't need this anymore, I'm going to start the process of getting rid of this. And that can take whatever form it needs to take for you. Like I said, if it's an object, for instance, you're going to say, okay, finally I'm going to make a trip to the tip and I'm going to empty out the garage, right? I'm going to get rid of a lot of this stuff that I don't need, or have a garage sale. I'll make it worth my while, right? Make some profit, right? Or this could be, okay, there's some emotional things that I've gone through here. I need to start figuring this out. I need to start the process of healing, of moving on, of letting go from this stuff so that I can move on to better things. And again, in that sense, it may not be as easy. Of course, it's not going to be as easy as selling something, right? Having a garage sale, whatever. But the fact that you're acknowledging it and you're now taking those steps to move forward, to move on from this, that's a huge change, a huge difference, a huge plus, a positive for you guys, just in understanding that and vowing to make that move, take that first step. Now, this could be, with this Five of Swords here as well, this could be conflicts maybe that you've had with other people as well. Maybe disagreements, could even be arguments. Again, there's a positive aspect, there's a positive light, there's a positive thing that comes from letting go. So if someone's really fighting hard with you about something and they're not budging, walk away, let it go. If you can see this person, they're not changing they're not willing to see my side of the argument, or they're not changing their perspective or trying to see the bigger picture or anything like that. Again, there's a positive coming out of you just vowing to let that go, and from walking away, letting it go and moving on. The Five of Swords too, can talk about, maybe you have had arguments with people, maybe you wanted to come out the victor, maybe you were really strong in your argument, and maybe that had consequences, in the way people saw you, or whatever the outcome was, right, from these actions. But again, it's that thing of vowing to let go. Once something has happened, it's happened. There's not a lot we can do to change it. There's not a lot that can be done about it. So at the end of the day, the only thing that we really can do is let go of our ties to it, our emotional ties, our energetic ties, and we just vow to move on. Now, that doesn't mean to say that, we can't gain clarity on certain situations, that we can't offer forgiveness or accept forgiveness for certain things, or that we shouldn't do those things. But, at the end of the day, it is a situation of letting go, and in order to move forward, right? And with this Judgment card here, of course, Judgment being liberation, that feeling of being liberated, that feeling of freedom. And this is what comes from letting go. This is what you get to. And feeling free again within yourself, your mind, heart space, energy space, all these things. And in order to allow this energy to come through, in order to get to this point, we need to learn to let go. And the more that we realize that this is the outcome of letting go of things that don't serve us, of letting go what isn't good for us, the more we realize that this judgment is right around that corner, that then starts kicking in some kind of like a pattern of like, okay, now I know that this is what I can get to by letting go. So the next time something happens, you're on that a lot quicker than you were the last time. Right, I need to learn what I was meant to learn from this experience, right? Or take what I was supposed to take from it, right? And then move on. I vow to move on now. I let go. Sorry guys, that's my stomach, if you heard that. And it's this wonderful, freeing feeling. You can see on this card here how happy these people are. And you would be too, having taken all the burdens off, having taken all the things that are weighing you down energetically, emotionally, mentally. Releasing all those things, being able to release that is a very freeing feeling. And once you come to experience this, once you come to realize this, that makes the process of letting go a lot easier the next time around. So the general message for you guys here is, it's more the understanding that yes, letting go is never really easy, okay? It's not always something simple or quick. But if you think about this judgment card, if you think about what could be around the corner, through you taking this leap of faith to let go, moving through these fears, moving through whatever it is that you feel that is the reason why you're still hanging on to something. And once you actually take that action to let go, and you feel that liberation, you feel that freeness, you feel how good it is to let go and to be free of something that you were holding on to that did not serve you, you will begin to understand that this is the key to moving forward, to moving on, to getting to where you need to be. And you'll start acting quicker the next time, and quicker, and you will eventually get to that point where you become almost a bit of a master in letting go. Now, as I said, it's not always easy, guys, because there's always going to be new things in life that are going to come in that we haven't experienced yet, and are going to life throws us a curveball, and then we're stuck in this energy of, wow, this is perhaps even more difficult than the last thing that I experienced. And even though I realized how good it was to let go, I realized how good it felt. I don't know if I can do it this time, right? Because this is much more bigger than what I experienced last time. Well, this is different than the last time. This is a whole different experience. But it's just remembering how important it is that by letting go, you're freeing yourself and allowing new things to come into your life. You're allowing, the path forward for yourself. And, it's important for you to understand that the steps are different for everybody. So whatever it takes for you to let go of something is going to be different to the next person, right? So don't look at someone else and say, okay, this is how they've done it, or this is how they've moved on. This is how they've, they have filtered out things in their life, or they've, changed or transformed or whatever it is, right? Don't go by that. Listen to yourself, okay? Take it from yourself and figure out what it is that you need to do for yourself, and then move forward in that way. Take the time if it's going to take time. My process dealing with my mum and dad, for instance, has been quite a long one. And I think a lot longer than a lot of people in my life expected it to be. I don't really know what they were expecting. I'm myself, and I healed in the way that I needed to. I'm still healing, but I did what I had to do in my own way. And I have now, along with other things, started to really understand that process of letting go and realizing, like, once you do, things do get better, and you are allowing newer things to come in, new energies. And that feeling, that judgment feeling, that feeling of liberation, that freedom, it really is there. And you can experience this, you can have this, but you really do need to take that first step in whatever it is for you, in letting go and saying, okay, I'm going to take this first step. And, I now realize that this isn't serving me, or this is an energy that I no longer need to hang on to, or this is a situation that I no longer need to be in. And I'm vowing to move forward from this, to give myself this liberation, this freedom, and peace of mind. So I really hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope that you did take something from this. Please do like and subscribe down below. Leave me a comment as well if you wish. And lots of love to you guys. I will see you on the next reading. Bye. Hi Pile 3, and welcome to your reading. So like I said with the other piles, I'm doing this a little differently today. So I did get you guys a main card topic of conversation today that we're going to be talking about from Spirit, but the words that I'll be speaking to you are going to be based off of my opinions and my life experience. So this is not the kind of reading for you today, then by all means, please, do feel free to stay or go. Have a look at my other readings if this isn't resonating with you, if this is not what you're in the mood for today. Or you can wait for another reading that's going to be coming up soon. But if this is something that you're interested in, do stick around. So your topic today is learning with the fluorite. Now, I did get 3 tarot cards here, kind of like a clarifier. Really what I asked for was just a bit more information to what you might be going through right now, so that I know where I'm directing my my words, my wisdom, my experience for you guys, right? So we do have the 3 of Swords, we have the Temperance card, and we have the World. So I can already see where we're heading with this. Now with this 3 of Swords here, and I also want to point out too, some of you guys may have come from pile 2, yes. If you have come from pile 2, hello, welcome again. And it's good because I think there is a connection here between pile 2. So you may even be called to go back and listen to pile 2, because pile 2 was all about letting go. And this is about the learning, right? And I was talking about, this is about learning from your experiences, right? So with the 3 of Swords, some of you guys may have gone through some heartache recently, or maybe just a lot of emotional turmoil, things like that. But the 3 of Swords, really, it's about, us being in our emotional space at this point in time. So whatever has happened that's hurt us, that's gone on in our lives, we're feeling it very deeply from an emotional point of view. And, really in order to move forward, we need to sort of work through these emotions, right? Release some of these emotional ties that we have. And, sometimes too, this can talk about, that sort of release or of that, those emotions in order for us to move forward, right? Because sometimes when our emotions get a little too much, or they're sort of, because we always are trying to look for that nice balance, right, between the feminine and masculine energies, right? So that head versus heart sort of working in alignment. And of course, sometimes it's one more than the other. And if we're a lot into our emotional state, sometimes, and that can happen when we're faced with difficulty and things that are really pulling at our heartstrings, right? Things that really affect us in that emotional space, then yeah, we're going to react in that emotional way. But sometimes, there can be, there's an out of balance sort of thing happening here, which temperance too also talks about balance, right? So there could be a need for more balance in your life right now, guys, in terms of the feminine and masculine energies, right? But temperance too is about patience as well. So in regards to learning, yes, you guys may have been something that, and it's easy to, like I said, get into those emotions. And I definitely know this, being a very sensitive person. I'm also an empath, so it's like really hard for me to not be in my emotional state a lot of the time. And I am very sensitive, and I do take things to heart. And I realize there's a lot of instances where I need to take a step back and say, hey, you're being over emotional here, you're overthinking this, you're coming from this really deep emotional space. And hey, all those feelings are valid. Don't think they're not. That's not what I'm saying. They are completely valid. And I often have to remind myself of that. And I have to say, look, it's okay that you're feeling these things, but in order to move forward with this, we need to process this, and we need to deal with these emotions in maybe perhaps even a more logical way, right? Using a bit of that divine masculine to balance out the two, yeah? But, with this whole thing is a learning process, and that's what we're talking about, right? What we learn from experiences. If we came here, this is what we're here to do, right? To be the best version of ourselves, right? To spiritually grow, evolve, things like that, right? And we're not going to do that unless we go through things in life that challenge us, that test us, that, set that evolution in motion, set us up for, taking those next steps, right? To be the better version of ourselves. And if the world was a perfect place, if we were perfect people, right, and there was no mistakes, there were no things to learn here, everything is just as it is, as it should be, right, nothing happens, nothing changes, nothing evolves, nothing grows, right, it just stays the same. So we do need to go through these things, as hard as they are. Sometimes it is necessary for us to experience these things, though they may hurt us, though they may feel really difficult to go through, but it's all a learning process. And the quicker that we can realize the lesson, that's when we can move on. And again, like I said, you may be connected to pile 2, and that's when the letting go can really happen, and we can say, okay, this was the reason for this, I'm understanding that now, I'm working on letting go to move on, right? But learning is something we're doing all the time, constantly. You're never going to stop learning, whether it is for your personal growth or whether it's just in general knowledge terms. We're always learning things. And that's the wonderful thing too about us. I'm always amazed at how we are capable of continuously picking up new knowledge and new skills and things like that. I just think it's really interesting. But essentially, that's what we're here to do, right? We are here to learn. So no one gets away from it. No one gets out of it. It's not something that you can escape. Everyone has lessons to learn here in this life. And, I think it is a lot of how you deal with it that makes the difference as to how quickly you move on from the lesson. Some people, I'm one of these people. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. There's quite a few things in my life. I went through the lessons numerous times before I understood what I was meant to be learning from this. And I kept thinking to myself, why am I going through these cycles? Right? It just keeps happening and happening. I keep ending up in the same places. The same things keep happening. And I really was actually taking it to outer sources. I was passing the blame, and I was saying, okay, look, this is the circumstance that I was in. It was these crappy people, or it was this, crappy circumstance. It was this, it was that, it was that. It was everything else but me in a lot of ways with some of this stuff. And when I finally, said, okay, you're here to learn the lesson, right? So that makes you a part of this experience. There's no detachment there. You are a part of this. Therefore, you are involved in this. And once I started sort of learning that, it was easier for me to understand the lesson that I was going through and then move forward from it. But that may not be your specific scenario for right now. But in general, like I said, we are here to learn things and gain that wisdom, gain that knowledge from it, and then move forward. And sometimes too, it can bring about, it's always going to bring change. Once we learn something, we move on from it. Change is inevitable anyway. Change is something we can never escape. And it is something that people fear. It is something that, because it's the unknown sometimes, right? But it's a constant. I've said this to people before. It is the one thing that you can rely on, change. Because everything changes. You're constantly changing. The world is constantly changing. Nothing stays the same. But again, this is all part of that learning process as well. This is what helps us evolve, to move on, to transform, to transcend, right? So with this Temperance card too, the lessons may take a bit of patience on your part. Don't feel bad if you are going through a bit of a cycle and you're thinking and you're realizing maybe just recently to yourself, or maybe now this is making this realization, or in the near future this will come through, and you're realizing like, man, I've already had this lesson. I've just realized this. I've gone through this like 2-3 times now. Why did I do that? But that's okay, because sometimes it does take some patience, some time for us to understand the lesson, and I was talking about too the other day about sometimes how everybody's different, right? So we are not the same, and we process things differently. So therefore, if someone is going to, for instance, give us a piece of information, so you have, say, 10 people in a line, right, and they are all given that one piece of information, each person is going to take that a little differently, right? Each person is going to process that a little differently, because we're all different. And some it's going to sink in with straight away, and they're going to go, I get exactly what you're saying. Okay, but the next person may go, yeah, kind of get what you're saying. All right, and then you may go to the 5th person down the line, and they're like, I have no clue what this person's just told me. I do not understand. And that can be just based around this person's perception, based around how they were told the information. Maybe they have a different way of processing things, and so the way in which it was told didn't make sense to them, but it makes sense to somebody else. Thus, some of us go through lessons 2 or 3 times before we actually realize, okay, this is the lesson, I'm getting it now. But that's okay. That's okay. That's just part of the path. So sometimes, it's important to allow ourselves that time to learn the lesson. And it's okay that it took a little bit longer, maybe perhaps than you feel it should have. Or, it took as long as it took. You know what I mean? And sometimes, there's adjustments that are needed to be made. Sometimes it's a little bit of tweaking. Sometimes it's not a big life lesson to where, it's a huge change, right? Sometimes it's just little tweaks here and there, little things that we learn and we go, and we pick it up and we move forward. It's like, when we're kids and, sometimes too, and I think I used this analogy before, but it's very true. As children, of course, where our minds aren't fully developed yet, so we're still having to experience things sometimes head on that aren't that comfortable in order to understand something. For instance, like a child can be told something's hot, but they're still going to need to touch that thing and go, to eventually understand, that person was right, that's hot, And sometimes even as adults, we still need to do those things. We still need to be faced with those things in order to understand, like, oh, okay. But no matter what way you're learning something, no matter what way this is coming to you, you know, this is all knowledge, this is wisdom, this is experience that we can take with us that helps us in, you know, future circumstances, that helps us to grow, to be better people. You know, if we didn't experience things, if we didn't go through these life lessons, we didn't learn anything from them, you know, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be moving forward. Life would not be moving forward. There would be no tomorrow. Technically, there isn't, but we're not getting into that philosophical thing. But, you know, there would be no future for us, right? Now we have the world card here as well, and what I love about this is, of course, the world card can talk about, you know, completion, coming to completion, things coming full circle, and that's what happens. You know, we learn these lessons, and all of a sudden, you know, things can come to completion, so we can move forward onto the next thing. This is the cycle of life. We learn things. We go through things, we learn the lessons, right? And that allows us to move on to the next. And when we get into similar situations that we've been in before, we tap into that knowledge, we tap into what happened, and we say, okay, I know how to act now in this scenario because I've been here, I've done this, I've learned the lessons. You know, it's that same thing with the child that touched the hot pot. That child now knows that's a hot pot. I'm not going to touch that again. You know, so and you know, lessons too. I mean, the world, I think, sometimes too can talk about cycles, you know, because you're talking about coming full circle, right? But I think sometimes too, you know, we get into these, like I said, these cycles, right? But we are capable of ending these cycles, of having something come to completion, of breaking free of these cycles. Some people say, you know, this is just this endless circle that just never ever stops. There's no way of getting it out. There is, if you are open to learning the lessons from your experiences that you're going through in order to break free from this cycle, in order to move on. Because realistically, that's the only way that you're going to get out of this, right? Is opening yourself up to learning the lessons that need to be learned. And sometimes those are hard lessons to learn. Sometimes they're a little bit easier. But either way, you know, at the end of the day, the goal here is to get that knowledge that we need from that experience to better our future, to better ourselves for the future, right? To put ourselves in a better position next time, so that we're not faced with those issues again. So we're not faced, or if we are, like I said, if we are faced with those challenges again, we know how to act. We know how to react, right? So, and like I said, so the world can talk about completion. So you guys are most likely either already in this point of this completion happening, right? Or you're about to be, okay? It's in the very near future, perhaps for some of you, that you're about to be at the end stages of something that you've just gone through, where you've learnt the lessons and now this is coming to completion. And, you know, I don't think that enough we put an emphasis on praising ourselves for the lessons that we've learned. We often turn to look back at the things that we've done, and we look at the negatives and we say, okay, I can look back at my life and I can say to you guys, I've been through all these different things, right, that have led me to being who I am now, someone I'm quite proud of, right, someone that I am proud to be standing here, or sitting here rather, talking to you as, right. And yet, you know, there was a time where I would look back at this stuff, and some of it I still do. I'm still working through some of this stuff. I'm not perfect, guys. And you say, look at all those silly things that I did, right? Or look at all those bad decisions that I made. Look at all those mistakes, right? But why are we not acknowledging the lessons that we learned from that and how that changed us in a positive way, moving us forward and taking us to where we are now? Why don't we do that enough? We don't. I don't think that we do. And if you're not doing that, I want you to do that for yourself. I want you to turn around, look at the lesson you've just learned, or the lessons you've learned in the past, or even what you're going through right now, and try and see the positive in it. See what you've actually accomplished through this lesson, through this experience. Because there is something positive to take away from it. It's not just negative. There is a positive. Celebrate in that achievement, that you've learned something new, right? That you've evolved in some way, that you've grown in some way from this lesson, and take it as a positive thing. So yeah, it's not always an easy thing to go through the learning process, but it's what we're here to do. And there's nothing better in the world than, gaining that little bit of wisdom, right? Makes us smarter. It helps us in future circumstances, like I said. It's one of the keys to life, isn't it? Having that knowledge, having that wisdom. And, yes, we can sit down, we can read, hundreds of books in our lifetime and, be all knowledgeable about history and, where we came from, knowledge about, all kinds of different topics in the world. But the best knowledge, the best wisdom that you are going to get is through life experiences. And that's just how it is. And so, if you are in a process right now of learning to accept the lesson, that's the other thing too, that acceptance of the lesson. Go, okay, I think, I might be in a bit of a learning process here. This might end up being one of these things that I'm going to have to take away a lesson from this, and, but see the positive in it, right? See that this is something that is going to help you in the future. That's going to help move through this a little bit easier too. And sometimes we push away lessons and we say, like, I'm not ready to deal with this right now. Is this a lesson? No, if you've been through a few already, which you would have, because like I said, this is what we're here to do. We're constantly learning. We're constantly experiencing things. We make mistakes. We go through cycles. We do all kinds of things, right? So there's no way that you've not experienced anything like this up until this point. There's just no way. So you're going to know what I'm talking about. But it's sometimes we do push it away. Sometimes we see that this is what's happening. And we go, oh, no. I'm done. I don't want, no, I'm good. I just, can I not just live? Can I not just be and just do what I'm doing and just, not? No, that's not, unfortunately, not how it works, guys. It's not how it works. And so you are here to learn a lesson, many. And so, take it as a positive. Look at the brighter side. Change your perspective, right? We have with the world here, you may look at this as a bit of a perspective thing as well. The world looks very different from up in space, for instance, right, than the world as we are living in it. So take that as you will, but, again, maybe that can be for some of you too, to help with this learning process to move through is looking at the bigger picture as well. Sometimes that helps in terms of perspective, right? But, and this is what gets us to more of our freedom. I did talk in pile 2 about liberation, right? About the judgment card. So, and knowledge is power too, right? Knowledge is power. At the end of the day, the more we learn, the more we grow, the more wisdom we have and power we have to have control over our lives, control, in general in life, right? To know how to move forward, to know how to best steer our path forward, yeah? So don't fear the lesson, embrace it, because lessons are going to be a constant thing in your life, just like the change, like I talked about, right? Change is a constant, but so is learning, so is lessons. And you can take that in any form that you want to take it in. You can't escape having to go through school, for instance, right? So there's the literal learning sense there, yeah? But the spiritual lessons and the, evolving of self and all that sort of stuff, we can't escape any of that either. That's just how it is. So take the positives, embrace, learn the lessons, right? Learn this lesson, take from it what you will, the things that you need to in order to move forward, and reverting back to pile 2, let it go and move on to the next phase of your life. It's not always easy, guys, but the quicker you understand these things and are open to these things and the flow of life, and going with the way the world works, because this is just how it works, right? The better things will be. I really hope this is helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's reading. Really appreciate you tuning in. Lots of love to you guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.